Okay, I'll start explaining the Civil War. What? The Civil War? Yeah. Between 1861 and 1965, the United States and the Confederacy fought a war. Well, it's nice to meet you. We're going to take a look at the first battle of the Civil War. Blue is the United States of America, red is the Confederate States of America. Yeah, I know the term, Union, and Confederate. The map is a little dirty. The map is dirty because it's handmade by the publisher. So, where did the fighting start? It's only here in South Carolina. Don't wars usually start near the border? It's not a battle, it's a skirmish. Since South Carolina seceded from the Union in December of 1860, they seized the weapons, fortifications, and government buildings. But it didn't go so smoothly in some places. That's when the fighting started. This time, I'll explain the Battle of Fort Sumter. I look forward to it. Okay, let's go to Fort Sumter. What? This blue dot? Let's get a larger version. Oh, I see. It's on the coast of South Carolina. The man who guarded Fort Sumter was Major Robert Anderson. He was originally from the South and he owned slaves at one time or another. Yeah, so he wasn't anti-slavery. He thought it was a constitutional right for the Confederacy to secede. Wouldn't a man like that have joined the South in a heartbeat? It was John Buchanan Floyd who had previously appointed Major Anderson to command the fort. Yeah, but he's from the United States, isn't he? Well, then, I don't think he should appoint Major Anderson with his Southern leanings. It just happened that it worked. After the war began, in May 1861, he became a brigadier general in the Confederate Army. So that's what Secretary Floyd meant when he appointed Major Anderson. Yeah, that's what he meant. So he'd already set the tone for the war. Major Anderson was an earnest and professional man. As a United States soldier, he was determined to keep Fort Sumter standing. He's going to hold down the fort. Now, let's see what the Confederates are up to. At the time, the governor of South Carolina was Francis Wilkinson Pickens and was demanding that the White House hand over the Fort Sumter. I'll tell you why. He said, it belongs to the South. Give it to me. But then James Buchanan, the President of the United States at that time, was not doing anything about it. And then, Abraham Lincoln had been elected as the next President of the United States, and his administration had become a lame duck. It was a terrible time. More like Lincoln, a Republican, was elected as the next president and President Buchanan thought that Lincoln could handle this conflict with the Confederacy. I see. But Major Anderson, stationed at a local fort, has the Confederate threat at his doorstep. He couldn't just sit back and do nothing. The war isn't happening in the White House. It's happening on the ground. First, Major Anderson moved the garrison from Fort Moultrie to Fort Sumter. Oh, so that's where they were at first. This is because Fort Moultrie is poorly defended. And Fort Sumter, though still incomplete, was stronger. Well, I guess that's a relief. But the Confederate Army was not sitting idly by. They began to set up batteries around Fort Sumter. South Carolina is a southern state, so it's utterly southern in terms of geographical advantage. And then the year ended in January 1861. President Buchanan finally sent reinforcements and supplies to Fort Sumter. This was intercepted by the Confederates, who never made it to the fort. He turned back. We're going to starve to death if we don't do something. That's why the two armies thought it was only a matter of time before they surrendered. There's no fighting this time. What the hell is this? I'll tell you what happened. I don't know if I can do it now. The next time the situation changed was March 1861. That's when the president became Lincoln. Oh, here he comes. In his inaugural address, he said, I will not interfere with existing slavery. And that the interior was part of the United States. Oh, I thought he was going to free the slaves? Well, there's a reason they can't get into that. First, there was the range of power at that time. Do you see that subtle light blue state in the middle? Yeah, that's the state that declared neutrality. So they are not part of either camp? Well, if they don't do anything, they just stay in the United States. It's a little too far north for me. Well, that's good for the president. Slavery still exists in this state. What would happen if he announced the abolition of slavery? There'd be a backlash. That's why Lincoln made his speech, not about slavery, but about preserving the Union. Then the North called him a coward. Tough luck. Well, Now that he's in the office, he's walking a tightrope. But then there's Fort Sumter in South Carolina surrounded by Confederate troops. That's right. On March 5, 1861, Lincoln walked into the Oval Office and found a letter saying, "Reinforcements in 6 weeks. We can't hold the fort without food supplies." That's not good. Eventually, on March 29, a decision was made. They sent a supply ship to Fort Sumter in early April. What about the army? Well, when the war broke out, the few standing troops in the United States were left in the West fighting the Indians. The ships were ready on April 6, and after that they sent words to the South that they were sending help. Why did they tell them to make the South to do their first move? It's fun to imagine, isn't it? Remember Sumter. But I digress. In response to this, Confederate President Jefferson Davis and Brigadier General Beauregard, who was in command, advised Major Anderson to surrender. Give it up. Major Anderson refused to do so. But frankly, we're running out of food, so we'll surrender naturally. When? If the supplies don't arrive by noon on April 15th. It's a little late for that, isn't it? And so on. And finally, on April 12, 1861, 4:30 a.m., the first cannon have been fired from Fort Johnson to Fort Sumter. The war begins. Union troops responded in kind. Major Anderson forbade the use of large-caliber artillery and returned fire only with small-caliber shells. The Union attack was ineffective against the Confederates. Yeah, why would he do that? In the first place, in this surrounding situation. But they can't just not to fight back. I suppose. It's a lot of work for a Northerner like Lincoln. Shortly after noon on April 13, a Confederate artillery barrage struck the United States flag at the fort. Oh, so Brigadier General Beauregard ordered Colonel Lewis Wigfall to recommend another surrender at Fort Sumter. You have defended your flag well. I think you've done all you can do, sir. General Beauregard does not wish to see any more attacks. I suggest you abandon the fortress and leave. In response, Major Anderson said he would not surrender. Instead, he responded by saying he liked the word, evacuate. He replied as follows: "There is one condition for your departure. I want you to raise the United States flag again and lower it in accordance with military protocol. And I want you to withdraw." That's what he said. An honorable retreat. Brigadier General Beauregard granted the request, and so the Union retreat began. Oh, by the way, what about the Union supply ships? Oh, I heard they couldn't get near Fort Sumter when the Southern artillery started. Well, that's a lot to ask of a ship. Well, they fired 100 rounds of salute gun at the Stars and Stripes. But during the retreat, one of the cannons went off, and a Union soldier named Daniel Huff was caught in the crossfire and killed. What a shame. Because of the casualties, the salute was stopped after 50 rounds. The Union soldiers left on Confederate ships. So, that's it for the Battle of Fort Sumter. End of story. Why did you make this video? I wanted to make a commentary video for once in my life. What's that in the background? It's a game called Tree Simulator 22. I heard that if you take a picture, it will become a spam video. So I made it work. It's a bit of a mess. Also, I don't want to criticize anyone or their ideas. That's important. This video contains slow audio. Too late warning. Thank you for watching until the end. Please watch again. See you soon.